Everything happens for a reason. This is not good. This doctor mummified me. And I got really emotional about that. And you couldn't even plan for the situation. Wow, we are back, everybody. I can't believe it. Welcome back to Individual Soul, the podcast. It is almost been, a year since I last posted my last episode? You might be wondering, where have you been, Brendan, for the last year? So, I traveled to Europe with my gorgeous partner Julia for 3 months, which was incredible. When I got back, I started running again, started meditating, and I started reading a lot more. I then got back into my business, Collectors Collectibles, which is essentially a comics business. And then on top of that, I work full time. So you can say life hit me. No, but in all seriousness, why I haven't uploaded is because I kept on telling myself, once my studio's clean, I'm going to record episodes in there. Now, I'm going to pop a photo of what my studio looks like currently, and it is a complete mess because I have stock coming in and out all the time. So that was never going to happen. But now we're here, and I feel like the year off was essential. I learned a lot about myself. I grew a lot, and especially traveling to Europe, I will say that I saw many different cultures. I experienced life deeper and I learned a lot of lessons, but not only that, I grew a whole new appreciation on life and a whole different perspective. Within this episode, I will be telling you the story about how I dislocated my right shoulder in Europe. This story is about overcoming adversity and fears, never taking your life for granted. My favorite motto, everything happens for a reason, and mental toughness. Now, before I go and tell you this story, during my trip, I was reading some books. And one of the books I was reading was by David Goggins. The book is called Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. Very ironic because it actually did help me a lot during this really tough situation that occurred. Mind you, this wasn't even halfway through our Europe trip, so you can say it sort of screwed the vibes a lot when I dislocated my shoulder, but both Julie and I got through it and we ended up having an amazing time. So let's begin the story. Julia and I were in Croatia on a sail Croatia. We met so many lovely people on our boat, especially two girls, Ruby and Riley, shout out to them. And we were having a blast. But this one morning, I was staring in the water and I was looking and I was taking in the view and I thought to myself, I'm going to jump off this boat. You might be thinking, yeah, it's just jumping off a boat. But if you don't know me, I am scared of heights. And not only that, I am not the greatest swimmer. I'm no Michael Phelps by any means. And honestly, I've told this story to about 50 different people. And a lot of them ask me, Brendan, why did you decide to even jump off the boat if one, you're scared of heights, and two, you're not the best swimmer? Well, the reason was simple. The reason was to prove that I could overcome my fears. One being the height and two being the swimming. And I took it to the next level. So that day, Julia jumped first. I recorded her and she jumped, I remember, and she said, never doing that again. That was the freakiest thing. And I was just thinking, oh, thanks, Jules. That's very reassuring to hear, considering I'm going to be jumping off next. So then my time came. I had a few people in the water cheering me on. Everybody's like, let's go, Brendan. Come on, you got this. I remember I ended up jumping. My heart either sunk or tried to escape my body because I was in so much shock while jumping. And I remember crashing into the water and floating back up. Mind you, I went in chicken arms. Not a great idea. But I came out fine. And everybody was like, oh my God, Brendan, you did it. Oh my God. And I had all this adrenaline. And I was thinking, I cannot believe it. I did it. I can't believe it. And then everybody was like, surely you're jumping again, Brendan. I thought about it. I looked at Julia. She was saying, don't do it. I could read her mind. She said, don't do it. But I told everybody, let's go. We're jumping again. I had so much adrenaline, clearly. I remember climbing up, going up the top of the boat, but this time was different. It was really, really windy, and I could see the water, and it was really, really choppy. And my gut was telling me, oh, this is not good. I went to jump, and my gut was telling me, I held onto the rail, and my gut was telling me, don't jump. But then I ended up throwing myself off the boat. Again, chicken arms. For people that jump off boats, do not go in chicken arms, go pin drop in. I learned the hard way because as I hit the water, I instantly felt my shoulder, my right shoulder, pop out. And I just thought, shit, this is not good. And it was getting really windy and the waves were really waving that day. And I just remember, oh my God, why has this happened to me now? Out of all the times this has happened, it has to be on the Europe trip. And everybody was swimming back. All the captains, crew was saying, come on guys, like it's dangerous now to swim back to the boat. Everybody swam back. Julia was swimming back. People were panicking because it was not safe to swim. And Julia's a great swimmer, and for her to panic made me panic even more. And everybody's yelling, Brendan, come on, swim back. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm panicking. And the fear in my voice, if you were there, it was frightening. Because I was paddling and splashing about and saying, I can't swim, my shoulders popped out. Nobody could really hear me. Thankfully, Riley was still in the water. And she told the guys, oh my God, Brendan's popped his shoulder. He's dislocated his shoulder. Like somebody throw a water donut. Anyway, she grabbed me. Don't know how she did it, but she's a trooper. She grabbed me and helped me swim back to the boat. Somebody threw a donut. We grabbed it. And then it was really wavy, I remember. And then we grabbed a hold of the anchor just so I could catch my breath. And I remember getting all this rust on my face. And I went pale white because in that mindset, I wasn't thinking. And I thought I was bleeding out. Riley reassured me that, Brendan, no, you're not bleeding out. You're fine. Let's get back onto this boat. So we got back onto the boat. And my God, the pain I was feeling was 11 out of 10, and you best believe I told everybody, get your cameras out and record because this is hopefully never happening again. So the whole time I documented this whole experience, and I will pop a video or photo up of how my shoulder looked, and it was bad. And I felt all this pain, 11 out of 10 for 3 hours straight. Why, you may ask, 3 hours? Because on the boat, nobody could pop my shoulder back into place. And not only that, but we were in the middle of nowhere. So I will fast forward this part a lot. We get to one island that has a small little hospital with like literally 2 people working there. They asked what's wrong, all the standard questions, and then they said, we're not popping your shoulder back into place. You need to do this at the main hospital. I thought, surely not. And they're like, okay, we're going to jab you with like an injection so it will help relieve the pain. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Please pop it back. And then like, no, not happening. So we made it back to the boat. And I remember Julia and I were both scrambling because we couldn't stay on the boat. So we had to get some of our belongings, clothes and stuff. We weren't sure how long we were going to be at this hospital. Anyway, our room was at one of the top cabins Oh man, I remember Julia slipped down these stairs and everybody was laughing and I tried not to laugh and she tried not to laugh as well, laugh or cry because she started bleeding and everybody was just saying, guys, you both cannot be injured for your trip. You still have so many places to go. You can't be both injured. And I was just like, that just sums up the day perfectly. So anyway, time goes past. They drop us off to another drop-off point. And essentially, Julia and I are running to catch this last ferry to where the main hospital was. And I'm running with this shoulder and I'm holding it and I'm in so much pain. And we make it to the ferry and there's this really long line. Of course, peak period that you want to be in Europe, there's always going to be a long line everywhere. Anyway, Julia spoke to the captain and told him about what had happened to me. And he said, okay, we're going to push you through. And he said, sorry guys, this guy's broken his shoulder. I just ran with it. I wasn't complaining. I was just like, yep, take me on the boat. I remember hearing a conversation between Julia and the captain. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. I'm going to organize an ambulance to pick you guys up when we get to the mainland. And I thought that was extremely nice. And then I just remember being so thirsty. Somebody sitting behind me must have heard me tell Julia I was really thirsty. And he told me, oh, I have a water bottle. Like, here, you take it. You have it. The injection was kicking in now. And I'm an emotional person. And that got me feeling really emotional because I just thought, you know what? Humanity is good. We just don't give good people enough credit or take enough notice of good people. And in that moment in time, I knew, you know what? People can say that humanity is doomed, but there are a lot of good people out there. So we got to the ambulance on the mainland and they rushed us to the hospital. The hospital was chaotic, as a hospital is. Julia and I got separated. Julia had to do my paperwork and I had to go get my shoulder popped back into place. And of course, I didn't have my phone on me. Julia had her phone and my phone on her because obviously we weren't thinking. And I just thought, crap, Julia doesn't know what's happening with me. And she was so distraught because obviously the situation, you can't plan for a situation like that. She didn't know where I was. Foreign country, in a hospital, who plans for this? Nobody. Anyway, I get rushed to get an x-ray, then all this other stuff, waiting. And then the doctor comes and he tells me, you listen to me and you listen to me like clearly. If you listen to me, everything will work out. If you don't, then we may have problems. And I just thought, oh my God, do I really want to hear that? And he said, oh, you've dislocated your shoulder. We've had 7 people come in with dislocated shoulders just today. And I just thought, oh my God, how many people are jumping off boats? Anyway, he assessed my shoulder and he basically popped it back into place. But for me, luckily, it didn't actually pop. It actually slid into place. So I was like, fantastic, awesome. And then I waited around, wasn't sure what to do. I was sitting next to a mum and daughter and I asked them, do you speak English? I don't know what to do, how long I'm going to wait. Anyway, thankfully I had another doctor come past and he's like, oh, I will sort you out right now. And I was like, geez, what is going on? So then I ended up going to Julia. And she had organized the Airbnb for us. She was such a gem during that time. She's always a gem. She was just such a rock for me during that difficult time. I also remember coming out of the hospital. This you're going to laugh about. When the doctor basically popped my shoulder back into place, I thought I was getting a strap for my shoulder, just a strap like we do in Australia. But no, this doctor started strapping my shoulder and strapping. onto my body. And I was like, what is going on? This doctor mummified me. And when I mean mummified, I mean he wrapped me really good. And I'm going to pop a photo up of how I got bandaged all up. And you're going to laugh because it was ridiculous. People thought I had been shot. And where I was getting at was when we left the hospital, I felt completely alienated. Why? Because everybody was staring at me like I was an alien. Everybody was like, who is this weird guy with this whole strap in the middle of summer, sweating, looking like that? And I just remember feeling so embarrassed, but not really caring because I just wanted to get to the Airbnb. Anyway, the host was super lovely, very accommodating, definitely 5 stars. And she just comforted both Julia and myself and made sure that, I'll help you out with any medications, with getting a sling and stuff, because you best believe I did not stay strapped in all those bandages for more than 2 days. I was not doing it during summer. Anyway, she was super lovely. I remember that night, it was just so chaotic, and I remember calling my dad and telling him, Dad, I've dislocated my shoulder. You wouldn't believe it. For people that know me know I like to joke around a lot. And he said, oh, no, you didn't. And I FaceTimed him and he was like, oh my God. And I said, Dad, like, I can't believe it. And I was getting really emotional at this time. And I told him, Dad, like, during that time, I couldn't drown. And I couldn't drown and not be here because I couldn't go without seeing you guys. And when I referred to you guys, I was referring to my family. And I got really emotional about that. And I just remember that moment of being so upset. And I remember my dad saying, oh, Brendan, like, it's all good. Like, you're fine. You're here. You're a trooper, blah, blah, blah. And you'll be okay. And it got me thinking back to another low point in my life that I was dealing with. And I remember my dad actually told me this moment won't last forever. And it's funny because you're going to look back at this and laugh about it one day. And those words just came full circle because this was one of those moments that I would look back now and just laugh about it and just think, wow, what a great story I have. So that's my story. And basically, I have a few things to recap about the situation. The first thing is it put into perspective that life can be taken from you in an instance. And for me, I was lucky enough that everything during those moments worked in my favor. I was super lucky. For others, it doesn't happen that way. And it also showed me just how much love and appreciation that I have for my partner, Julia, and she's probably going to watch or listen to this and be like, oh, thanks, hon. But no, truly, like, and I told her this as well. She was a complete rock for me during that time and managed everything during that stressful period and had a lot going on with her as well. And she managed it like, I would say a trooper, but wow, she managed it so perfectly. You couldn't even plan for the situation. So I don't know how she managed to do it. So thank you to her. And then, as I mentioned before, there is good people in this world. Because during this story, I've told you many people that have helped me. It first started with Riley, who helped me get back onto the boat, where I had all the captain and crew help me get me water and all this other stuff and a bit of medication, and the people I met on the boat just comfort me and everything. To the captain who helped me push through the line, and then he organized an ambulance for me. I didn't even know who this person was, and he was so just kind and helpful, and saw me in so much pain and was like, I'm going to help this person. To even just the small gesture of the person giving me the bottle of water when I was thirsty, I just thought that was such a small gesture, but it meant a lot. To Julia being that rock for me, and to everybody in the hospital helping me, giving me x-rays, and the doctor popping my shoulder back into place. There's a lot of good people out there, so we should never take that for granted. And then back to my favorite motto, everything happens for a reason. I mean, I read the David Goggins book, I can't believe that, and that helped me push through this experience. And not only that, but everything played out the way it was meant to play out. It felt like it was in a movie, it felt like it was scripted. It was weird. It just reminded me to ensure that I enjoy every moment. My brother used to tell me this all the time. And funny enough, I actually have it written on my whiteboard there, alongside motivate plus inspire, utilize your time with intention, and someone is wishing they were in your position. But in there is enjoy every moment, because I think that is so important, because honestly, you don't know, it could be your last day tomorrow. You honestly just don't know. And then I am so grateful that I experienced all of this, that my shoulder popped out the way that it did, even during the water, traumatic, but I'm so grateful it happened, because I wouldn't have learned all these different life lessons and built this tough mentality if it had happened in Australia, where it would have been maybe resolved in 10 minutes and that's about it. And back to mental toughness, I'm super appreciative that I have built a mental toughness because of this experience. It has helped me a lot, especially during my process of running long distance. Whenever my legs are very sore, I think back to that moment and think, you know what, my shoulder was out for 3 hours and I went through that pain. I can go through any pain and make it out fine. I also want to say that fears are all just in our mind. And I can truly say that because with this story, I proved to myself that I can overcome my fear of heights and jump into the water and be able to swim to some degree back to the boat. And even though my shoulder popped out and it was a chaotic situation, I came out fine. And it's funny because I came across a quote that says, "Fears are just illusions created by our mind. They have no power over us unless we let them." And I think that is just so powerful because it is so true, especially during my situation, because there's no fear. Like, I ended up conquering it and I came out fine. So I want to end it with that you can all overcome your fears, whether they are big or small, because just remember, they are mind game fears. And I just hope that this story either builds some mental toughness for yourself or helps you overcome any sort of adversities that you were going through at the moment. And also to allow you to remember that, you know what, sometimes in life, things just happen for a reason. And most importantly, never take your life for granted. I love you all, and it is so good to be back. I will see you in the next episode.